a musical.
Good morning, good morning.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about 1952's Singin' in the Rain and its 4K Blu-ray. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, some tech and game reviews along the way, and we do podcasts, if you're into all that, then this is the channel for you, and nothing helps the channel out more than by you liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So Singin' in the Rain came out on April 11th, 1952, which is actually its 71st anniversary tomorrow as of the day of this recording. So Singin' in the Rain has been with us for a very long time. It's directed and starring Gene Kelly. He directed this along with Stanley Donen, and it also stars Donald O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds, and Jean Hagen, which I think is in her most famous role and a very underappreciated role in this film. Because Singin' in the Rain is obviously one of the most famous movies of all time. It's considered one of the greatest films ever made. It was one of the first 25 films ever put in the National Library of Congress for being culturally significant. At the time, though, of its initial release, it was only a modest box office hit for MGM. It wasn't considered the big movie that we know of it today. This movie is so important. Actually, the reason I even decided to revisit this film and review the 4K is because of the movie Babylon that just came out in 2022. And that movie pays so much homages to Singin' in the Rain, on top of the fact that the movie itself plays a part in the plot and the story of Babylon. And as many of you guys might know, if you've watched this channel long enough, I'm not a big musical fan. I actually have a real hard time enjoying musicals because I feel like the musical numbers always kind of stop the plot and the story from moving forward. But musicals are a lot of people's favorite form of film. And I don't want to undersell that because, yes, it's very impressive. And I was watching the documentary on the Blu-ray for this about just how hard it was to get the choreography and the singing and the dancing just all right, because they really do it mostly in just one take. And they were talking about how you just can't do that anymore. Like now when you watch a musical, you can see the cuts. And one of my favorite musicals that I've ever seen was La La Land, again directed by Damien Chazelle. And you could see the cuts in that, but again, you could tell that Damien Chazelle is a huge fan of Singin' in the Rain. You could see his influences in La La Land, and you could totally see the influences in Babylon. And I imagine that many people today are huge fans still of Singin' in the Rain. For me, I actually didn't even come to Singin' in the Rain until I was in school. I've only seen this movie once in school, and that was it. I've never seen this movie again. Like I said, it's not my type of movie, but I felt compelled to finally catch up and re-see it because it's one of the most famous movies of all time. And I pride myself of being a fan of classic cinema, and this is just one of those movies that I couldn't go the rest of my life with only seeing it once in high school. I had to at least see it again, even if I don't love the film. And to be honest with you guys, I really enjoyed my time with this, watching it again last night. You could tell back in the 1950s, a movie like this, they were just getting into like using color more. Like, yes, we had movies in color in the 30s and the 40s, but it was more of like, it probably cost them more money to make a colored film. It wasn't really until we got to like the late 60s, I would say, where color was the norm and that using black and white would become a choice. But here in the 50s, when you chose color, it felt like most of those movies were just very colorful films that they really wanted to show you what color was like and what color could be for the future of cinema, which is ironic because this movie itself is talking about cinema making one of its biggest changes ever, which is going from the silent era to the talkies. That's exactly what this movie is about. Don Lockwood and Lena Lamont are the two biggest stars of the silent era, but now we're going to be shifting into the talkies. And Lena's character has a very distinct voice. She has a voice like my dad would say,
Everybody's picking on me.
a voice for the deaf people, because it's like nails on a chalkboard. They don't think she's going to make it in the talkies, so they have to find somebody. Well, they accidentally discover somebody, played by Debbie Reynolds' character, double her voice. She's going to do the singing scene. She's going to basically just cover her voice up completely, but she doesn't get the credit for it because Lena Lamont is a very selfish, arrogant person. She's going to do whatever she can to get ahead. Even if she realizes that she's not that talented, it doesn't really matter too much to her. She's a very selfish individual. She plays the antagonist of this story. And she just does a phenomenal job in her role. She is very underappreciated. When you hear about this movie, everyone just really talks about Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds. And they all deserve all that praise that they have gotten. But she really, for me, I thought she was the best performance in this from an acting standpoint. But I guess she doesn't sing and dance as much as everybody else in this movie. So, you got to kind of realize that. Because, yes, what Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor are doing in this movie is absolutely incredible. I can't dance, I can't sing at all, so there is absolutely no way I would be able to do what these people are doing. Even if I don't particularly enjoy that art form, I am still incredibly impressed with it. I can't take nothing away from it because it is incredible. And obviously, Singin' in the Rain, the song itself, is one of the most popular songs ever committed to film that you've probably ever heard. Even if you haven't seen the film, you know Singin' in the Rain. I knew of Singin' in the Rain way before I knew of the actual film, because if people are around my age, I am 31 years old, you grew up with the show Kenan and Kel, and there's a spoof of that involving orange soda that Kel is singing, and instead of it raining out, it's orange soda.
I'm happy again. Orange clouds in the sky.
That is my first experience with Singin' in the Rain, is from Kenan and Kel. And I mean, you've seen it as spoofed and satired all over the place. You've heard the song Good Morning, even if you've never seen the movie.
Good morning. It's great to stay up late.
That's just how culturally significant Singin' in the Rain is. And just like me, if you're one of those people who don't enjoy musicals and you're like, I could skip it, there's certain musicals you have to see, even if you don't think you're going to enjoy it. Just as a cinephile, you know, there's certain boxes that need to be checked, I feel like. You know, I mean, I don't want to sound like an asshole or anything, but yeah, I feel like as a cinephile, there's certain movies that throughout the history of film that everyone has decided, like, this is a movie, even if you don't enjoy it, you got to see where all the movie cliches, where it all started and where it really peaked, and, you know, as considered one of the greatest musicals of all time. Even as not a musical fan, I feel like you guys should check this out, even if you don't grab this 4K Blu-ray from Warner Brothers that we're going to talk about right now. So there's actually no new releases coming out this week for the channel, so I decided, you know what, 71 years since Singin' in the Rain came out, and this is going to be included in a bunch of Warner Brothers box sets coming out this year, their Warner Brothers 4K box set. Even though this film itself, when it originally came out, was done by MGM, I don't know how Warner Brothers ended up with the rights to it, and they're including it in their 100th anniversary set as one of their big movies up there with like The Maltese Falcon, Rebel Without a Cause, and Cool Hand Luke. They're putting this in there, even though it's an MGM film, but WB did put out this 4K, and they had put out the previous 2012 Blu-ray. So this 4K came out about 1 year ago, and it was the replacement for the 10-year-old Blu-ray at the time, now 11 years old, and that Blu-ray is the pack-in Blu-ray in here, so I compared those side by side. And in my opinion, it's night and day as far as the visuals go. It's going to be presented to you in your aspect ratio of 1.37. It's from 1952, so that means you're going to have the black bars on the sides of your screen, not on the top and bottom. It's more into like a letterbox format, and that's to be expected for these. It's got HDR10, no Dolby Vision, and its audio track is a DTS HD 5.1, but it has the mono track on there if you're a historian, you want to check it out in its original form. And that DTS HD 5.1 is the same audio track that is on the Blu-ray. So like I said, that Blu-ray that's in here is not a compressed version of this 4K. It's just the previous Blu-ray. Everything that was on that 2012 Blu-ray is the Blu-ray that is in here, and that's pretty standard for Warner Brothers. From what I've been able to tell in reviewing a lot of Warner Brothers 4Ks, is the pack-in Blu-ray is just their previous release. You've seen it with Casablanca, you've seen it with Cool Hand Luke, you've seen it with the Maltese Falcon. It's just what they do. They just give you that previous Blu-ray for free, but it really helps for people like me who don't own the previous Blu-ray and you want to compare them side by side. And you could just see that huge jump visually. The HDR10 does an incredible job. I mean, like I said, this is when they really started to use color in film, and all the colors just stand out. You got the yellows, the blues, the reds. You know, it's not a flat looking film. I guess we had so many years of black and white that they said, hey, just, you know, use the whole rainbow if you can. And they really do make great use of color in this movie. You know, the scene with Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly, they're singing on a set, and they got like this purple, looks like, you know, it's an artificial sunset, just showing how movies are made. And, you know, it looked stunning on my LG C2 when I was watching it last night. It was incredible. My jaw dropped. I was like, wow, this is a 1952 film. I mean, it's incredible what they were able to do with this 4K, or how they were able to make it. And it's just a big jump from that Blu-ray. The Blu-ray, you know, it's a little bit flatter. It's not a bad Blu-ray by any means. I mean, from what I remember, it's been a long time since I've seen the film the first time I saw it. You know, it didn't look the greatest when I saw it the first time, so I can imagine we've come a very long way, and that this 4K, I can't imagine it looking any better than it does right now. They did just a great job, and WB does a great job with making their classic films look, I guess, I don't want to say modern, because they definitely don't make it look that way. You know, you do want to keep that 50s look. You know that look I'm talking about. When you watch a 50s film, you know, you kind of get that, like, the colors pop, but it's still like the skin colors are a little bit faded, the hair is a little bit faded, but I mean, you could just tell that the makeup that they had on really did make their like eyes pop, like the color of their eyes just stand out, and this 4K is just enhancing that. I imagine that they didn't imagine it would come to 4K, so this stuff really just stands out for the time and how makeup was when they were trying to have it pop on the film, and it stands out now, and this 4K just does an incredible job with the colors, the blacks. It's just one of the best looking classic film 4Ks I've ever seen, and it really lines up with what Warner Brothers does, because like I said, I reviewed Cool Hand Luke, and very similar as far as like the colors go, and I think they just do a great job on their 4K transfers visually. Now there is no upgrade to the audio, and there is no upgrade to the extras, because all the extras are on that Blu-ray disc. There is a commentary track that is on the 4K, but that's the only extra that's on the 4K disc. Everything is going to be on that previous Blu-ray disc, so that means that we got nothing new from the previous Blu-ray. So in 11 years now, we've had the same exact extras, which is disappointing in my opinion. There is a pretty good documentary of people looking back on it and the influence that this movie had on cinema, and especially on musicals in general. They got interviews on there with one of the guys was the guy who did the choreography for 500 Days of Summer, and he's talking about just how hard it is to do what they did in this movie nowadays, and it would just never happen nowadays with the amount of rehearsal time required. And I find that stuff fascinating. So even as a fan, even though I'm not a fan of musicals, I still can appreciate what they did with this movie, even if I don't think it's the greatest movie ever. Like a lot of people, this is probably one of their favorite films ever made. And for me, it's not. I'll watch this again for sure. It'll go into like the rotation maybe every few years. I'll check it out because I am a huge fan of classic film. I'm just not a huge fan of musicals. Now, thankfully, this movie doesn't have too many musical numbers. The ones that they do have are all pretty damn entertaining and are some of the most famous songs ever. So it's not like this movie is hard to get through. It's actually a pretty damn good movie. I still enjoyed myself. It's just not my favorite movie. I'm not going to be one of those people when I say, hey, you're going back and watching classic cinema, I might point you in the direction of something else a little bit more darker than point you into a colorful musical, but that's just me as a person. That's not anything to do with the film. The film itself is great. This 4K is phenomenal. It's a huge upgrade over that Blu-ray, so if you've been holding on to that Blu-ray and you want to upgrade, you know, this is the kind of movie. It came out a year ago now, so it's going on sale. Actually, I got it on sale. I'm sure it'll be on sale throughout the year, especially with Warner Brothers celebrating their 100th anniversary. I wanted to actually review this in case you're one of those people that are going to grab that 4K box set. I want to have a review for every single 4K in that box set. Since I own most of those anyway, I think I'm only missing now, well, I'll have it, Rebel Without a Cause and Training Day, and that's because Matt got to review Training Day. And then I think I'll have every single 4K in there. I haven't reviewed that Goodfellas 4K yet, and maybe we'll do that if you guys want to hear me talk about that, because I don't think that Goodfellas 4K is that great. I would have liked a new scan of that this year, but from what I can tell, I don't think we're getting that. So if you're very interested in this Singin' in the Rain 4K, if you're a fan of this movie and you haven't grabbed this yet, wait for it to go on sale. I think just like most Warner Brothers 4Ks, I think they operate best in that $20 to $22 range. I think if you get up to that $27 range, the fact that we don't get any new extras or new audio track is a little bit disappointing. But you do get this really nice slipcover on here, which is cool, which I do appreciate. Again, the light blue, the yellow, it's just gonna pop and it pops on your shelf. Same artwork underneath. Not individual disc design per se, but red and blue, so it does stand out. That 4K is in red, and the Blu-ray, of course, is in that light blue. So it's nothing special as far as this design or packaging, but it's still pretty decent. Definitely more in line with what WB usually does with their 4Ks. And the fact that a year later I still got a slipcover, I'm pretty damn happy about that. So overall, what would I give Singin' in the Rain, the 4K that came out in April of 2022? I would still give this 4K a really solid and acceptable 8.5 out of 10. The only reason I'm taking any points off is the lack of any new audio and extras. Other than that, it is a visual showpiece for WB. I understand why they are going to be packing this into their 4K set. But again, I'm still a little confused. If somebody could enlighten me in the comment section below about, well, how did WB end up with the rights to this if MGM was the original distributor? I couldn't find that, but again, I kind of half-assed that research. I'm sure I could have Googled it a little more. If anyone knows for sure how that happened, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm really interested in stuff like that. And before we end today's video, it's Monday, and that means it's time for us to move on to this week's Digital Code Giveaway. So if you just happen to be hanging around for the end of this video and wonder what the last couple minutes of this video are about, well, every single week on Friday's video, either Matt or I will ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. You only have to answer 1 in the comment section below, and then you're automatically entered into our digital code giveaway. We spin this wheel 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you have seen on the screen before you today. And this week we asked you guys, what is your favorite Robert De Niro movie? And what is your favorite buddy comedy film? And you know what really surprised me, guys? How many people picked The Nice Guys as one of their favorite buddy comedy movies. And to me, that is one of the best buddy comedy movies to come out over the last 10 years. Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling are perfect in the leads in that movie. Shane Black did an amazing job directing it. You know, that's where Shane Black operates best. Not making Predator movies, but making buddy comedy movies. The guy also wrote Lethal Weapon, which is probably the best buddy comedy movie of all time, even if I don't know if you necessarily consider that a comedy, but it is one of the best. It's one of my personal favorites, and Shane Black has his fingerprints all over that. It also feels so much like the cousin of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer. I think both of those movies are fantastic. I was so happy that people picked The Nice Guys, and a lot of people did, so that makes me, I feel like a proud dad. Like, you know what, we're all kind of operating on the same wavelength here as far as our favorite films. Man, that one really stood out to me, and I'm really glad that a lot of you guys picked that. But I've loved everybody's answers in here, but enough of me rambling on, because I'm sure you're getting sick and tired of hearing me talk. So let's spin this magic wheel and see who those 2 lucky winners are. First wheel spin coming up. Taking the elevator, going up. James, congratulations, James. James, we're going to remove you. We're going to spin again. And Teddy Graham. Teddy Graham, I think, won last week or 2 weeks ago. All right, congratulations, James and Teddy Graham. Teddy Graham, I believe, won last week, or if not, 2 weeks ago. My memory's a little bit fuzzy at the moment. I easily could check that, but again, I am not going to. So, Teddy Graham and James. James has been entering this since the very beginning. Like 15 months ago, I want to say, we started the Magic Wheel, and he's been on there since the very, very beginning, and this is only his 2nd win. So if you've only been entering our digital code giveaway for like a few weeks or a couple months now, and you haven't won yet, ask James. It'll happen eventually. It's just some people are luckier than others, because I know for a fact that if my name was on this wheel, I definitely wouldn't have hit it yet. I've never won anything in my entire life. I remember I won a little cooler at a minor league baseball game. There was probably 80 people in the crowd, and I was the lucky winner in one of the seats, and I got a little cooler that, you know, it's probably $7 or $8, but that's the highlight of me winning anything just based on luck. So that's how everything has gone for me. So if you feel discouraged that you haven't won the digital code giveaway yet, just hang on and keep entering. Eventually your day may come. But for Teddy Graham and James, you guys both know how this works. You can email us at letstalkentmt@gmail.com. If you don't want to do that, you can always hit us up on all our social media sites. Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just direct message us and let us know which of the digital codes you want. As long as the other winner didn't take it, that digital code is all yours. And Singin' in the Rain did come with a digital code, so if that's one you want to grab, it's definitely in the mix. But you have your choice of what you saw on your screen before you today. So thank you guys so much for entering into the digital code giveaway and for watching my review of Singin' in the Rain. We really hope you enjoyed it. Like I said earlier in the video, there is nothing new coming out this week, so I'm getting a little bit creative with the videos, and we really do hope you guys enjoy that this week. Any recommendations for future videos or anything you guys just want to comment that we're doing here on the channel, feel free to leave those in the comment section below. And then while you're down there, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and then after you're done doing all that, you know, subscribing to us on all podcast services, I just want you to go out and tell your friends about us, and then enjoy your day. We'll be seeing you around.